we've always had a really healthy respect for each other, and I respect what you do.
My goal on TV was to bring a smile to everybody's face.
Hello, Mark. Mr. Pope, 1996.
Oh, my gosh.
What?
Hey, let's give it up right here. This is my guy. Yes. I'm so happy to see you.
Hey, gratitude is a skill, guys. But if you practice, will give you a joyful life regardless of your circumstances.
But the main thing that causes people despair, and I hate to bemoan this thing, but it still sticks in my craw. Our leader tried to sneak in the middle of the night to go to Texas A&M. I can't get over that, and those players have got to get their trust. Me as a fan and a former player, I like his coaching style. But hell, you brought us to the mountaintop, and now you're just going to slide out the back because you see something glistening on the other side of that fence, and then when you get over there, they didn't want you. Hell, we gave you love and everything you needed. $9 million. I mean, our money ain't good money. He has to realize that, and he's got to get back to the basics. Football is a pitch and catch game, and get the fans. I think all the tickets are sold out anyway. I changed my tickets, thought I was going to get a deal, and they said, "Oh, we're almost sold out." So the fans want the football program to succeed. We just want to win on the field.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Good afternoon. I'm Alan Cutler. Honored and pleased to be with you. Honored and pleased that you're spending part of your day, or perhaps tonight, on a podcast, or sometimes this weekend. You appreciate it. In whatever state you're in, listening online on the ESPN Sports Lexington app, as this is growing and growing thanks to you. Now, that soundbite was from yesterday, and I love Christian Alt. He's one of my favorites, going back to when I covered him in Henry Clay High, number 2 all-time in tackles at Kentucky, and that is never going to be knocked down to number 3 because nobody will stay that long. It's amazing how he played. Retired cop, honest, tough, strong, and after all this time, he's still upset at Stoops because he wanted to go to Texas A&M, and then they didn't want him. And by the way, I never blame Stoops for that as far as the deal getting messed up. It was the AD who screwed up. I'm not going to get back into it. I've explained it many times. Anyway, I found that soundbite amazing. And actually, when we were talking about it, I kind of thought he was over it. No. Christian Alt is not over it. And you have to remember how loyal of a human being he is and how much he loves Kentucky. By the way, I got to throw this out there. It just hit me. If you played at Kentucky, I don't care if it's basketball, football, women's basketball. I don't care. Whatever your tickets are, I get that you can't give it away for free, especially how precious basketball tickets are. I get it. But shouldn't they get a discount? Seriously. Shouldn't they get the discount? Now, I know the 78 team, this goes back a long time ago. I didn't cover the 78 team. But in the early 80s, a number of the guys told me they were ticked because they were put in the upper deck and they thought they deserved better. So, tickets are a funny thing. But I really honestly believe, and I don't know why I haven't brought it up before, just boom, popped in my head. I really honestly believe that if you bled for Kentucky, or you bled for Louisville, or you bled for Cincinnati, I don't care what the hell the school is, if you bled for them and you stay around and you go to games, you should get a benefit. I think it's only fair. You want to say it's a lifetime scholarship? Okay, I got no problem with that. But people get discounts all the time. All the time. Going to get into my number one rant in a second. Want to share that my dear friend, Cisco Bryant, Studley player for Kentucky back in the day, whose son Ty, as I said, when he was in high school, was going to go to the NFL. Ty is amazing. So Cisco will join us, as he often does, at 12:30. Brandon Ramsey, Coach Brandon Ramsey, now that recruiting is ended, he'll talk about that and other things in basketball. All right. I want to be really careful here. I'm not accusing anybody of lying. Again, I'm not accusing anybody of lying, but I honestly believe that there's something here. Could it be perception? Don't think so. But what I want to do is lay it out with information you can't get anywhere else, and you decide. Number one, In recruiting, there's so much lying, promises, BS, BS. It's crazy. This is not talking about Kentucky or Louisville or Boston College or Boise State. It's recruiting. Are there some coaches that are brutally honest? Yes. Percentage? Don't know. Am I ripping coaches? No. I am more than suggesting there's a lot of crap, as you should know, goes on recruiting. So yesterday, I made a strong, passionate argument that not only am I not taking back, I believe more today than yesterday. And I hope others will pick it up. And I appreciate LM Communications now. They're taking, like, say, a snippet of the show, and they're putting it out all over the place. And hopefully that entices more people to say, hey, I want to listen to Cutler from 12 to 2. Thank you, LM Communications, for doing that. Here's the deal. When I said it was a bogus battle, I mean it from my heart. I'll quickly go over it and then take the next step in case you missed it yesterday. You cannot, I'll ask Cisco about this. You cannot have a battle for the starting job at quarterback, and I don't care what the hell school it is, and I don't care who the quarterbacks are. I don't. And I don't care who would win the job. I'm serious. I just want the best person to win. It's a pretty simple deal. If Cutler is the best, he should be the quarterback. If Zach is the best, he should be the quarterback. Can I be more honest? And Cutler's a local kid. I really like him a lot. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If the number 2 guy on the depth chart is taking little or no reps with the first team, it's not a battle. It's not a battle. And I get what Bush Hampton said. Whoever wins the quarterback job, wink, 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 Zach. Zach is a rookie. He might be one of the oldest rookies in college football, as he's going to be 25 years old, but he's a rookie. He hasn't worked with these wideouts a lot. He doesn't have 2 or 3 years working with guys. He doesn't have 2 or 3 years in the system. So if it's him, wink, wink, and it is, then you have to get him ready. So therefore, whoever the number 2 guy, you're going to get pushed aside. I get it. I understand it. I don't know why they just can't say it. And I don't understand why Stoops has said the word battle. It's not a battle. It's not a battle. It's bogus. And you're not fooling the football players on the team. I'm going to go one further, and I know this is true. And I want to be careful here, not that I'm being shy. I really don't want someone to build it up to something that it's not. If you looked at the football players and asked them, and I don't even care who they would vote for, it's not the point. You think everybody on offense would say, I want to vote for Biden? Or they'd say 100%, I want to vote for Trump when the election happened? Or let's say Kamala and Trump. In other words, I don't care who the Democrat is and I don't care who the Republican is. Whoever it is, when you put this thing together, okay, it's not 100%. I am telling you I know this. I don't think this, I know this. And that doesn't mean I'm suggesting there's great dissension on the team. I'm not suggesting it. I'm telling you this is human nature. Do I think there are some players on the football team who like to see Cutler be the starting quarterback? I do. What percentage? Have no clue. Have no clue. But it's normal. Now, in Texas, with Arch Manning, do you think it's 100%? Yeah. Yeah, I do. Last year, when Arch was the backup, do I think there probably were a few that wanted Arch to be the quarterback? Yes. Yes. And by the way, don't push on the media, because if somebody wants to run with this, and everybody do whatever the heck they want and start talking to players, anybody in the media understands if you talk to a player, they are not going to give you an honest opinion. Not saying that they're liars. They can't give an honest opinion. You talk to a tackle or guard or something like that and say, yeah, but guess what? Cutler should be the starting quarterback. Are you kidding? The garbage that player would go through? And so sometimes in the media, you ask a question and the person answering the question has to lie. Has to lie. It was always early on in my career something that really bothered me. You have to lie. Okay? And I'm not going to call the person a liar. And I got to tell you, in the early 80s, I struggled with this. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I'm just being honest. I struggle with this. So there are some, I know this for a fact, that would like to see Cutler being the starting quarterback. Again, please don't listen to this and say, Cutler says there's this mutiny on the team or there's huge dissension or anything like that. Nothing could be further from the truth. I don't know that. People and players have opinions. Players are smart. Now, if it's an egregious thing, not talking about this bogus quarterback battle, but if it's an egregious thing, you don't think players know? You don't think players are smart enough? Don't give me this crap that they're 17 or 18 years old or something like that and they don't know. Stop it. Players are smart. They're on the field. They know who should be the starter. They know who should be the starter. You don't think when the barrier in baseball, the awful, awful line that they wouldn't put African Americans in the major leagues, you don't think the guys on the team knew that some of the guys that were brought in and were backups should have been starting Pumps and Green with the Boston Red Sox? Not the point. They know. Players know. You don't think there were some racists in baseball who didn't want a black man to start, even though they deserve to? Yeah, it's been well documented. In other words, this is human nature. That's all. I don't want to get off from football too much. So here's what's going on. And depending upon how you look at it, I am telling you there are people that honestly believe this. I'm telling you, I've talked to many people. And I'm telling you, I can't tell you who I talked to. I just can't. First of all, I gave my word with many people I've talked to. And second of all, I gave my word. And third of all, see 1 and 2. And here's the other thing. There have been so many times, not just me, please, it's not about me. There are so many times as a reporter, you find out information, and one, somebody has to trust you to give you an honest answer, and two, you give your word, you can't say who your sources, and three, if you lie and give the source name, forget about the fact that nobody will trust you again, okay? You're hurting that person. And one of the things that I learned earlier on in reporting, if somebody is angry at something or has a different opinion about something and they trust you, they will tell you. That's how a lot of stories break. So if you want to think I'm making this up, God bless, more power to you. And you know you're not supposed to say this, turn the damn dial. Really. The one thing I am is honest. Agree, disagree, that's up to you. It's all good. So I know there are people that believe that Cutler was told he would get a fair shot at winning the quarterback job this year. I know, and you know, if you've been listening, I've been saying no one gets a fair shot at being the starting quarterback if you're taking like no reps with the second team. The only fair way to do this, and I don't care about Cutler or Zach right now, this is a general comment about competition for a quarterback. It's pretty simple. And then you say to yourself as a coach, I'll give it this many practices, that many practices. And sometimes as it goes on, you have to change your mind. You really don't want to tell the media because if you have to change your mind and give it longer, then the media says, why can't you give an answer? You say, okay, we're going to give it like through the first scrimmage and maybe a couple of practices. I'm throwing out a bogus number here. And we'll split it 50-50 between two particular kids because we think it's close. And then after, let's say, the first scrimmage and maybe a couple of practices, whether anybody likes it or not, we're going to make a decision because guess what? We got it ready for the season. I respect that in any coach and offensive coordinator. That didn't happen. And I don't know why UK continues to say, or Stoops ever said it was a battle. Maybe he slipped. I like Stoops. I told you I like Stoops. I told you I'm rooting for him. I've always liked Stoops. But it was not the right thing to say. It just wasn't. So, one, I am telling you there are some kids on the team who think Cutler should be the starter. How many? Don't know. Is it 1? Is it 10? Is it 4? No, I don't know. 2, I really believe that Cutler thought he would have a shot at winning the job. 3, I understand that Cutler is smart enough, like any quarterback, if you're not taking the snaps with the ones to have a shot, you're not in a quarterback battle. Now, if you're taking snaps with the second, you're doing so well that all of a sudden they go 50-50, that's a different story. I don't see that happening. And they're already preparing for Toledo. I get it. So here's the other side. There are some, and John Hale said it on the air. So this is not holding back a source. I have talked to others besides John, then I can't use the name. But John said on the air that the thought process was when Cutler was recruited that he will sit for 2 years and he would wait for Brock. And then it would be his team. and that he knew all along. I'm telling you, there's some people who don't believe that's true. I'm telling you that some people believe that Brock would either be good enough to go to the NFL, not thinking that he would quit football, and that means Cutter would move up, or if he was a starting quarterback and didn't do that well, guess what? Cutter would be the quarterback. There's a lot of variables I'm throwing at you. A lot of variables. I get it. I understand it. But this is all honest and legitimate about people and what they think. It just is. And again, I'm not calling anybody a liar. I am telling you there's so much BS in recruiting at times, it's not even funny. So however you want to look at this, God bless you. More power to you. What I am doing is giving you honest information and opinions that people think are absolutely unequivocally true. Jimmy, how are you going to take the first 1 minute out of that that we're going to use for a tease? God bless, more power to you. In the commercial break, tell me what you think. But right now, more importantly on the air, you played the game. You understand. I'm going to stick my nose out here. I don't think you disagree with the word I said. And if you do, throw it back at me.
I'm curious. So the crux of all of this that you have, is it with just Stoops using the word battle? That is the issue. And if so, if you were Mark Stoops, how would you be approaching these questions that have been asked to you? Because I don't know what else he could or should be saying.
Okay, fair question. There's two things. One, he shouldn't have used battle, because if you're really not competing for the starting job, it's not a battle. You're just not. You're just not. Would I have gone on this rant without it? Yes, for the information I know, because I do think that there are some people that think he should be the starter on the team, but I wouldn't go this strong because different people have different opinions. It's just like voting. You're not going to get 100% in any room in any football team to say, I want this person or that person, Democratic or Republican. So you see where I'm coming from? It's not a battle. It's a bogus battle. It's not at all. I think the smart thing would have been to say, okay, Zach is getting all the reps for the first. We love Cutter in his future. He will get all the reps for the second, and we'll go from there. And obviously, anybody who follows football, you don't have to be a savant, knows that if you're getting the first reps, come on, Jimmy, you played the game. If you're getting the first reps, you're the starter.
I do think what you're saying, though, about the players being split, I think that's in every quarterback competition. Like the skill guys mostly, like the receivers and tight ends. I'm sure they have guys that or one guy that they prefer over the other. But the one thing is, Calzada is a rookie coming in, but there's Macklin's the main starting receiver that's coming back. You've got Hardly Gilmore too, but all the other guys were new too. So in a way, it was a fresh slate. You have the tight ends, but as we've seen with Kentucky, we don't know how much they need between each other as far as a connection, because they don't throw the ball to the tight end. They should.
I agree with you.
Maybe that's part of it too.
Sorry for stepping on you, Jimmy. I agree with you. But the point is, I think a lot of people are cognizant of the fact or realize that there's different factions and different thoughts on any football team. You're right. Mm-hmm. You can go to any team, and if it's close, somebody might say even the backup who doesn't have a shot at winning the job and shouldn't win the job, but he throws a better ball or a softer ball. I mean, there was a quarterback 1,000 years ago here named Glenn Ford. I don't know why I'm thinking of him. Wow. You talk about pulling a name out of the air, and he had a rocket for an arm. Transferred in here, the whole thing had a gun for an arm, and there were some receivers I know that thought he threw the ball too hard. And they would rather have somebody else. Ford, when they made him the starting quarterback, he deserved to be the starting quarterback. So you're absolutely right. But I don't know if everybody sitting in the stands realize that different players have different thoughts. And part of it, it's not somebody sitting in the stands, and not everybody sitting in the stands follows football as much as other people. But the fact remains, because stuff comes from the head coach or coordinator, and you talk to players, they're not going to say that. So therefore, I think in a lot of people's minds, this thing doesn't exist. It does. But you're right. You could have receivers on any team that might like to back up more. Absolutely, unequivocally, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. So I'm curious to see what Cisco says about this. And if he's listening now, he'll go, I agreed to do Cutler's show, and he's going to put me on the spot like that? Maybe I shouldn't. I don't bring guests on to do that, but I'm curious what he thinks. I'm very curious. Curious about Brad White, too. Let's go to little Brad White sound. He talked yesterday. It was defensive day. And this is the kind of question that will be asked and the kind of answer you're going to get, but I kind of liked how he answered it. So I don't believe for a second, that these kids on the team at Kentucky are overlooking Toledo because it's a MAC team. One, they're not stupid. 2, they know. 3, they also know that it could actually ruin their season. So I don't see it. It's an obvious question, but I really like how Brad White talked about working on Toledo. Is anybody on the team, I won't say stupid, he won't say stupid enough, but I'll say stupid enough to overlook a MAC team?
Zero worry about the focus there. They understand the challenge that's coming in here. I could be wrong, but I believe they've got votes in the AP poll and we don't. So to say that you're going to overlook a team that is thought of maybe more highly than you. So, and deservedly so. I mean, what they do against, especially their P4 opponents when they get a play, I mean, it's impressive.
Okay, it's impressive. Remember early on in the season last year, the defense was playing well till it totally fell apart. And then the team quit at the end of the season. They just did. And so the sad part is last year could have turned out totally different. Anyway, Brad White, defensive coordinator, talks about why his D today, he believes, is hungry.
I think our guys right now, they've got a mentality and a chip on their shoulder that they understand that they've got to get the taste out of how last year finished out of their mouth. And that's the focus. Obviously, Toledo as a team is the focus, but we've got to handle everything. People are responsible, not whatever opponents across from us. It doesn't matter which one. It's got to be about us and be disciplined. We've got to be physical. We've got to be tough. And not just physically tired. It's got to be mentally.
Jimmy, I hope that sounds better on the air than in my ear. One of my headsets are no good as we do a lot of this stuff extemporaneously. Yeah, I do believe that they're hungry. Absolutely. I don't question. First of all, if you're not hungry now, the hell with the season. But I do believe these kids are hungry. I like it. I understand it. I respect it. Now, this is kind of a clip number 3, the last clip with Brad White. I really like this because this tells me something about some of the young kids on the team. Also tells me something about the older guys, but in particular, I'm saying the young guys. So the older guys, and there's a bunch of guys on defense that have been around the block, the JQs of the world and stuff like that, who are helping out the other guys. And so the younger guys are supposed to lean on the older guys, and the older guys are supposed to counsel them. But what Brad White is saying, and this tells me a lot about the young guys and some of the confidence that they have, and something about the relationships that they're having with the older players, which is huge since relationships for everybody has been a big thing in this offseason that it had to get better. Everybody is pushing relationships that, one, it's not just the old guys helping the young guys, it's the young guys helping the old guys. And the first part of the comment is about the young guys leaning on the old guys.
They're leaning on those old guys. Those guys are pulling them along. But yeah, I think as a group they work really well together. If one of the older guys are having sort of a down day, you can see some of those younger guys sort of pulling them up, encouraging them. They get them to sort of snap back in and rock and roll. And I think we got enough guys across the defense that help, which is nice. Just because you're bound to have a bad day. You're bound to have, something going on in your personal life. And we've got enough senior leadership on here that if they see one of their guys down, like they go lift them up. They go sort of take them on.
Good stuff. If young guys, and I believe him, are helping the older guys also at times, I don't think that's a good thing. I think it's a beautiful thing. Other football stuff I want to do will have to wait. Some of it I'm going to throw at Cisco Bryant. Some of them I will toss on after Brandon Ramsey. Always fun. Is kind enough to join us at 1 o'clock. And Cisco Bryant will be at 12:30. Want to briefly mention, with a couple of particulars, that the SEC going to 9 conference games. I think everybody knew it was going to happen. I think everybody knows that Mitch did not want it to happen, and I respect Mitch's decision for that, and that's okay. Apparently, ESPN is going to toss in $50 to $80 million to the league for playing that extra game. So divide it up, and that's some nice money for each team. Every $1 million helps. But here's an issue that you have to be careful. You have to be careful. I think most people know that football pays the bills. And a home game for Kentucky is worth over $1 million. About 1.2 to maybe 1.3 million, something like that. And if I'm off by a couple shekels, please. But I know it's within that range. So if you take a home game away, it doesn't just hurt Kentucky, it would hurt any school. Okay, so now you have 9 games. So think about it. It's never going to be even. And when you have 5 conference games that are away, you'll try to have an extra game that'll be home to try to balance it out. In any event, Kentucky will always have at least 7 home games. That's the plan. That's the plan. But all this stuff isn't final yet. The other thing that Mitch said, I think it was on BBN, or maybe it was on Twitter, I'm sorry, wherever it was, that didn't want to make a commitment about Louisville. And my first thought was, is Louisville in trouble when you don't want to make a commitment? And then I said to myself, it's Mitch. He doesn't like to make a commitment unless he really has to, unless he's super strong about something. So be that as it may, the contract with Louisville is for 4 more years. So on the one hand, why say anything now? On the other hand, you could say we always want to play Louisville unless it's physically impossible and we can't do it, which would also bring up some questioning. I don't think, unless something strange happens, that Louisville will be taken off the schedule. I don't think Louisville people will allow it. I don't think the Kentucky people will allow it. And I got to tell you, I don't think the state legislature will allow it. And for those of you that are old timers, remember there was, after I made a big deal of Kentucky playing Louisville in basketball, and had Joe B. Hall snap at me when I asked him 1,000 years ago, and that really pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. The state legislature said, you got to have it. You got to have it happen. I just don't see it not happening. I just don't. Could I be wrong? Sure. Am I worried about it? No. I'm not worried about Kentucky and Louisville not playing. There's certain things that should happen way past my lifetime and your lifetime and whatever. It's just the way it is. Unless there's some delineations or somebody drops down in a class or something like that, unforeseen things. So I anticipate that the Louisville game should be just fine. Here's something else. It's my pet peeve. The people that say, oh my gosh, the schedule's going to be tougher and Kentucky can't win. It makes me want to scream. That's the league you're in. Okay? You're either good enough or you're not. I am so tired of people complaining about the schedule. Either get better or get out of the league. They're not getting out of the league. There's too much money. Either you're good enough or you're not. That's the thing. Here's the other thing. I wonder about the bowl games. It's going to be tougher for some teams to get 6 wins. Kentucky's not the only one in that boat. It's not the only one on that boat. And so picking teams for bowl games, you have to wonder if getting a 500 record will actually become a lot more valuable because you've now added a conference game. The other thing will be interesting, how the voting for the top 25 will be done and what respect that the SEC will still have, because they're going to have teams with an extra loss because you're playing an extra game in the conference. It's going to happen. And I got to tell you, the Big Ten has won 2 championships in a row. And let's say they win 5 championships in a row, national championships, and oh, that's blasphemy. How could you say that? How could you say that? I'm just telling you, they win 5 in a row. People will talk about the SEC no longer being the league. It's just natural. It's natural. It's normal. It's just the way it is. So when you think about it, there's a lot of variables and a lot of perceptions between different leagues and the voters and some of the jealousy about the SEC. There's no question about it. When you're the best, you get people that are jealous about you. In other words, I can't tell you how this thing is going to shake out. And I can't believe anybody can tell you how this thing will shake out. But one, look, you want to complain about the schedule, God bless, more power to you. To me, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of breath. You're in the league. You can either do it or not. If you can't do it, is the coach good enough? If you can't do it, are the players good enough? If you can't do it, do you need to recruit better players? If you can't do it, look at the damn reason why you're not good enough. Just look at the reason. Quit complaining about the schedule. Oh my gosh. In other talk shows and talking to other people, well, the schedule is so tough. We might be able to do it. We need an easier schedule. And don't talk about how the schedule's tough versus an ACC team. You're not in the ACC. And Kentucky would win more games than the ACC. And Louisville last year wouldn't have won so many games if they're in the SEC. I'm not ripping Louisville. It's just the way it is. Deal with reality. The reality is this is still the toughest conference in America. Reality is, guess what? Last year, Kentucky wasn't good enough. Guess what? There were years that Stoops had turned us. They were good enough to win in the league and have winning records. Can they go back to it? Beats me. I hope they do. It'll be fun. Monologue is over. Jimmy, what do you disagree with before we go to a break or agree with?
I don't really know if I disagree on anything. I don't know if it's, to me, I never saw the big deal in Stoops saying the word battle between Cutter and Zach Calzada. I think it's kind of a coach speak thing that coaches go back to. Anytime there's two guys in the same position being talked about in a conversation, the word battle gets used. But so I wouldn't say I disagree. I just don't see the massive issue with it that you
Okay. Hey, I get it. But you know what? You know what that also speaks? Maybe coaches should choose their words a little more carefully. One. And two, remember, when a coach speaks, he's talking to the fans. Okay. And I honestly believe, and Jimmy, I know this. I think there are some people, I know there are some people that thought that Cutter had a shot at winning the job. That's what bothered me. And what bothers me is he had no shot at winning the job. Zero, none, kaput, no shot. I think that's almost disingenuous. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah. If that is the case, and for all we know, I don't know this, but what if behind the scenes Zach picked up this offense at 100 miles an hour and has been been able to diagnose everything and be better out there from early on where it was a battle, and maybe Zach just leapfrogged Cutter really quick, and Cutter did have a chance, but Zach just went way past him.
Could be. But Stoops used the word battle the other day. Mm-hmm. So therefore, yeah, I see where you're coming from. I just don't agree with it at all. Don't agree with it at all. And you know what? Look, Stoops wins 10 games. Nobody's going to give a rat's what I said now, and they shouldn't. But this is, to me, is an issue today. And this, to me, is I think when coaches speak, they need to be held responsible. Just like if I say something stupid, I should be held responsible. Somebody disagrees, I'm okay with it. You use the word battle. There was no battle. I think the most honest thing to do is to say, look, Zach's getting all the snaps with the number one. Unless there's a reason to change, he will continue to get all the snaps in number one. We love Cutter. Cutter is the future, and we'll try to give him as many snaps in practice. Now, how can you disagree with that?
I can't.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be the perfect thing to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
If that is the case, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Don't you also think there are fans out there, and partly because he's a local kid, and partly because he's a great kid, and Zach comes across like a great kid too, from what we've seen, and stuff that I've read and stuff like that. But don't you think there are some local people that got excited and said, hey, man, maybe Cutter's got a shot at starting? I know that's true. I don't think that's true. I know that's true. Jimmy, to me, that's disingenuous.
Yeah, the fact that he's the local kid is what does it. If he was just another quarterback, there would be talk, but because he's from here in Lexington and the name Cutter Boley, yeah, a lot of people were thinking that he had a very good chance.
Okay, I'm going to tell you this. If Cutter Boley was from Boise, Idaho, and didn't play at LCA and wasn't a Kentucky boy, and his parents weren't athletes, in the state and really good athletes, okay, would I still say the same thing? You want to know the truth, Jimmy? Yes. Yes. Now, does it carry more weight? Maybe with some people because he's local, which you're suggesting? Couldn't agree with you more. Fair? Yeah. I mean, fair. The kid's from Nebraska, and you say he's in a battle, and he's taking all the number two snaps and that kind of stuff. I'd say the same thing. I think it has more meaning because he's local and those kinds of things. You're nodding your head.
I think the local thing is the huge part, just because everyone's heard his name for the last since he was a junior, since he started at LCA. It was kind of like the talk of, what if he could be the Kentucky guy in 3 years?
Okay, now I'll go on your side for a second. Let's say Cutter Boley was from Nebraska, and I'm doing the same rant. Do I think, going on your side, some people say, Cutler, why are you making this rant? Because it doesn't make a difference because Zach is going in. Yes, except for one thing. Fair is fair. And my foundation is that's disingenuous. And if it's disingenuous, I'm going to do a rant. Could it be I'm more altruistic than you are?
Could be.
Could be. I think that's true. And by the way, that's not a negative comment towards you. I hope you take it that way. That's as honest as I can be. Gene Abel's going to join us on Friday, and he's got me convinced I made a mistake about something. It's kind of bothering me. If you know what it is, you can say it to me, but we got to go to a break. I said it so there would be no time for you to say anything. You knew what I'm talking about, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, well, when you will. You'll be on Gene's side next Friday. Let's put it this way. It's 100 to 1 you're going to be on Gene's side. Is that fair odds?
I'd say so.
Let me tell you the odds about this being a great deal. 100 to 1, maybe even better. The Quantrill Auto Group for the month of August. Talk about great. Oh, what a great deal. Now think about it. I know there's folks in Louisville listening. I know there's folks in Cincinnati listening. Nashville. All over Kentucky. How about looking at a great Subaru for special financing? And one of the reasons for taking the drive to Lexington is because the dealership is so good. I think most people listening to the sound of my voice know that the Outback is a special car. It's a special car. And if you ever thought about driving an Outback, why don't you consider driving to Quantrill and the Auto Group? Check them out. 0%, 0.00000% interest for 36 months. That's a heck of a deal. It really is. And if you want to spread it out, you know it's a heck of a deal. Heck of a deal. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, it's 1.9% for 72 months. How good is that? Look around. What a deal. 0% for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quantrill family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise to get you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks. We have 2 cars from Quantrill. I trust them. Check them out. 0%. There's 0% that I'll be quiet over the next hour and a half. Would you say that's about right?
I think so. I hope so. That'd be an awkward, uncomfortable radio show.
You're a piece of work, Jimmy. Alan Cutler, Cisco Bryant coming up next. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM. You crack me up, Jimmy. 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrill Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313. Hi, this is Alan Cutler. The Quantrill Auto Group has a great deal for this month. Subaru. The Outback is special, so check this out. 0%. That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, 1.9%. What a deal. 0% interest for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quantrill family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road.
Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pump and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Jolly Rancher or Twizzler peg bags, 2 for $5, and Jacqueline's 2-ounce steak strip or extra large beef and cheese, 2 for $6.
Clark's Pump and Shop, return, refresh, refuel.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. In the second hour, it'll be Brandon Ramsey, the coach and expert when it comes to chopping up tape with basketball in Kentucky. He's big Reds fans, too. And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, old friend whose son's going to be a multi-gazillionaire down the road. Ty Bryant is his son. You know, I bet in the old days it was like, hey, that's Ty, Cisco's son. Now it's probably, hey, Cisco is Ty's dad. It's kind of reversed, right? The big thing now is Ty and not you, as it should be, right? Can't hear you, Cisco. Got to turn your ears on. I'm pointing to his ears. He's going to hit a button.
How's that?
Perfect.
All right. Hey, tell me I'm a technology guy. Let's start this again. Hey, Jimmy, how you doing, buddy?
How we doing, Cisco?
I'm good, buddy. Hey,
Alan, you always say hi to Jimmy. And when you say goodbye, you say good time. You never say bye, Alan. Goodbye, Cutler.
It's the 49er brotherhood.
They are brothers. And Cisco gave Jimmy some good 49er swag, too. I get your bond, but I'm very hurt when you say
no, don't be. Don't be. But yes, it is that way now. And it's been that way since he was a sophomore in high school. I still get a lot of love from people, but they will go, ain't Ty Bryant ain't Ty Bryant? And I'm also getting the same thing, ain't Terry Bryant your wife? So it's kind of flattering. It really
is flattering. And you don't have an ego, so it's a beautiful thing. And you're proud of both your wife and Ty and your whole family and stuff like that.
Yeah, and my stepdaughter as well.
I should have said that. My apologies. All right. I don't like the word battle when it's bogus.
Okay.
And so I've been doing this thing, went crazy yesterday. I wouldn't say crazy. It was my monologue that, to me, and let's forget about Kentucky. Just any school. I don't care the school. Pick the school. It's superfluous. If you're in a battle for the starting quarterback job, to me, a battle means that you have two quarterbacks. They don't know who's going to win the job. They're trying to make them both tougher, both feel the competition, which kind of makes both people better. And at the start of practice, and you can't do it right up to the first game. At a certain point, you got to make a decision, unless you can't make a decision. But starting out, if the players both know that they both have a shot at winning the job, you have to split the reps with the number ones, your first team, equally. And then, maybe after a scrimmage and a couple practices or you've seen enough, you got to make a decision because you have to get a quarterback ready for this season. You just have to, unless it's so neck and neck you can't decide to the end. And sometimes that happens, but not very often. To say there's a battle and you got one kid who's taking the second team reps, that's not a battle. That's bogus. It's baloney. It's BS. And I'm not chopping on Stoops, but I am semantically. To me, it's wrong and it's disingenuous because this. There are people in this community who think that Cutler had a shot at winning the starting quarterback job. He never had a shot. Never, ever, 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 ever. And by the way, I'm not saying Cutler should be the starting quarterback. I am saying that they both should have had an equal amount of number one reps. And then the coaches need to decide, not Alan Cutler, when that person jumped ahead because they're there at practice. They're the coaches. They're the professionals. They're the one that has to make the decision. And I respect that as long as it's not about money and it's not about age. Who is the best? I don't care if you're white, black, yellow, green, purple. I don't give a damn. Whoever is the best should be the starter, period. And to say that Cutler was in a battle is disingenuous. And there are people out there, Kentucky fans, think he had a shot at winning a job. He had no shot. And I think that's wrong. And maybe Stoops accidentally said the word battle. But you know what? He's a CEO of a big company. Let me tell you, you're a head football coach. You're a CEO of a big company. And your words mean something. And he said battle, and I think it's bogus, and I think it's BS, and I don't like it. Here's the other thing. I want more to throw at you, and I want you to answer. there are some, John Hale said it, who does a wonderful job for the Lexington Herald Leader. He said it on the record, on the show, that he said the plan was all along and that Cutter knew that he was going to sit possibly for 2 years, that Brock was going to be the starter. And so he knew that going in. I'm told from multiple people something else, that he knew that Brock was going to start. And if Brock went to the NFL, obviously that he would be the guy. But I'm also told that he was told that if Brock wasn't any good and came back and they didn't think he played well, that Cutter would have really the shot at taking over, even though Brock was here another year. That's two totally different stories. I'm not calling anybody a liar. I'm telling you that's what people believe. I'm also telling you there are kids on the team that think Cutter should be the quarterback. How many? I have no idea. Am I saying there's mutiny? I am not. But you know this. How many times when you play football you thought somebody was better than the other guy? That doesn't mean everybody falls apart. But you have an opinion. You're smart. You're a football player. You know who the best guy is. And so I just think it's just fair to the fans to say an honest thing. When you put out a picture of the two guys yesterday, okay, it's not true. It's not true. And to do this to make Cutter feel better, to keep him around, Cutter's a smart kid. Your son's a smart kid. You're not going to fool them. If your son was a quarterback and he's taking the number 2 snaps all the time, he knows he can't be the starting quarterback. You don't think Cutter knows he can't be the starting quarterback, and his family and friends and coaches at LCA and stuff like that? I just think it's disingenuous. I know you're not going to rip Stoops and that kind of thing, but you're always be honest, you know.
Okay, let me grab all the stuff you just said.
Yeah, please.
Because you had 4 points in what you said, and I heard all 4 of them. The first thing is there's a general idea as a coach of what you think should happen. That's every coach in America. This person's supposed to be this. Going back on the starting quarterback, I thought he was going to be the starting quarterback. But it makes a difference who you bring in. Even in my day, it made a difference who you bring in. Because when we had Mike Witt and Ransdale battling for the job, you brought in 2 good quarterbacks.
I got to stop you for a second, then I'll shut up, I promise. When you said you thought he would be the starter, who were you talking about?
I'm talking about Cutler.
You thought Cutter was be the starting quarterback before Zach came in?
Yes.
Okay.
Zach came in.
Yes. Excuse me. Go ahead. Because it was confusing to me.
Okay. My point is, when you bring someone in, it's who you bring in. And that's every university. If Alabama brings in this young person and this young person, okay, you have a general idea. There's always going to be, on another statement you said, there's always going to be people siding on one side or the other, because it depends on who you hang out with. When I first got to the University of Kentucky, Mike Whitaker was who I hung out with. And when he ends up transferring to EKU, that bothered me, because I thought he was going to be the starting quarterback. That's who I hung out with.
I'm going to stop you for a second, then I want you to continue, because let me respond to each point. I want you to keep on going. Yeah, and I said that too. On every team, certain guys like certain guys and that kind of stuff, and it's normal and natural. That doesn't mean there's a mutiny, but I honestly believe not every football fan understands that certain guys like certain guys because of relationships, or they think these better.
Yes.
I'm not suggesting there's a mutiny. I am suggesting I know that's true, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. That's why I added it to the list. Make sense?
Right. Yeah, makes sense.
Please continue.
Okay, and then like me making a comment about Coach Stoops, I mean, number one, number two, and you just called him a CEO, which he is, of a company. He's thinking from his perspective, I'm making the best decision for my company. I heard something, I think on the first show with Jimmy, and them had Jerry Jones on, and Jerry made a statement. Everybody thinks they're making the right decisions. If it turns out wrong, everybody else made the right decision. And when you're in that position as a head coach and you're in that position of a CEO, that's what happens. I really believe the greatest thing for UK football, that if Cutler starts or don't start, we've got him. And he, if something happens, he will step in if he's not the starting quarterback.
I agree.
He will step in and keep everything going, and he's got that chemistry with people. And with that said, there is no question in my mind, based on the quarterback now that got the starting nod, he's the starting quarterback in August. Will he be the starting quarterback in November? We don't know. And so that's where people got to understand, let it play itself out. Trust the process. And when you trust the process, it works itself out. It always does.
Okay, hang on with
Always
it. I just want to respond to your point. There's 4 you want to go. I don't want to go back. It'll get too confusing with people. Look,
Yes.
if Zach plays well and doesn't get hurt, and by the way, if Zach takes the first snap, I wish him nothing but the best. Let's not get silly here.
Right.
Suppose Kentucky has a spectacular year and he doesn't get hurt, and we all know quarterbacks get hurt a lot. There's been a lot of bad things happen to quarterbacks here and a lot of other places too. Not the point. It's a tough game. Duh. Okay, so if he has a great year, Cutter don't see the field except it's mop-ups. That's just the way it is. And keeping him will be very tough the way kids move and stuff like that. The point is, I'm going back to the original. I'm going back to look, he could have left.
No.
Cutter could have left this year. Ty could have left this year. Other kids could have left this year, but they stayed. And by the way, they stayed for less money, a lot of these kids. And that's okay. It's not all about money. It's about where you want to be. Cutter wants to be here. Ty wants to be here. Some others who stayed, they want to be here. And I think that's great. And they're not poor, but they wanted to be here. And I think that's beautiful. But the point is, if he ends up being this, let's say after 4 games, Kentucky's not playing well, or let's say they're 2-2, but the quarterback's not playing well, can I see Cutter starting? Absolutely. But to say it's a battle is bogus. You can't stay with the number one thing. You cannot have a battle if you're only working with the number 2s. You can't have it. You can't have it. Come on, you played forever.
Okay, being that statement you just said, Cutler, it's 100% right. It can't be a battle. Because if you give one more reps, then that's not a battle. A battle is alternating reps. But maybe he chose the wrong word. Okay, maybe he did. All right. But with that said is Zach's going to be there, Cutter's going to come in, or vice versa. And that puts UK football in a good position of 2 pretty good quarterbacks based on what it looks like in practice. Because that's all you can go by right now until they start next week.
I don't disagree. But if you don't hold people to the words that they say, why the hell are we doing this at all?
I didn't disagree with that.
Okay, and here's the other thing. Look, Mark Stoops has been in front of the media thousands of times, and you know he handles himself well. Sometimes too conservative, but that's me, and that's my choice. But I respect Mark Stoops. He opened a can of worms when he said that, and he's got to be smarter than that. And so, like I say, they won 10 games this year, and this rant I did, well, nobody will remember, nobody will care, and I get all that. But to the fans out there who think the Cutter had a chance, it's my responsibility as a commentator to say it's not true. That's all. And I got to tell you, Jimmy brought up a good point, but I'm telling you, I would say the same thing if Cutter Boley wasn't a Kentucky boy and was a Nebraska boy and came in here and with all this hoopla and stuff like that, and I'd say the same thing. It wouldn't have as much meaning because it's not a local kid. Here's something else. Did you have one more? If not, I want to make sure you get this point.
I'm good.
Okay, so I'm not calling anybody a liar. Okay, and I said that starting out the show.
Yes, you did.
You know as well as I do, there's a lot of lying and BS in recruiting, correct?
It's a lot of misleading.
Oh, man. Oh, my God.
I'm just I'm not using the liar word.
No, wait a second. Wait a second. I didn't call anybody a liar either.
I didn't say you called him a liar.
Okay.
I'm just not using the liar word.
When did you get to be so nice?
I'm not that nice. Trust me.
Did you take up some different pills this morning to deal with me? You know I love you, Cisco, but okay, let me try it this way.
Go ahead.
Okay, since neither one of us are calling Stoops a liar. I'm not.
No.
I don't have. Okay. And we both agree everywhere in the country there's all kinds of lying going on. But if this happens to be true, this is stronger than misleading. I am telling you, there are people that believe that Cutter was going to have a legitimate shot to win the starting quarterback job. I promise you that. I promise you there are people who understand football who know, without me ranting, that if you're doing with the number 2s, you didn't have a shot. That's disingenuous. That's bogus. That would be more than misleading. I'm not calling anybody a liar. I'm not calling the people I spoke to saying that they were lying to me. I'm not suggesting or not that somebody might have been misled. Not suggesting that. I'm just saying it bothers me. And I know this probably bothers UK, but they don't sign my check and I can't be on the UK network, and I'm fine with that. They wouldn't want me. And I'm not stretching this because I'm not on UK's network. I'm just being honest.
Right. But in the beginning of practicing, Cutler, the beginning of football practice, it's not a 1 and 2. It's just you throwing to different guys, and coaches are watching their feet, watching how the receivers come out of the break. So, I mean, I'm just letting you know, in the beginning, it ain't 1 and 2. the depth chart doesn't come out till later. So if a young man comes in,
time out. Okay. I'm going to jump on you. You go. I'm sorry.
No, you're not going to jump on me. You're going to make a statement at me. But here's my point.
Okay.
I'm getting at is in the beginning, because you said it 4 times, going with number 2s. He's not going with number 2s in the beginning. You go with whatever receiver is up. That's what you do. That's everybody all over the United States. And then you end up isolating 1, 2, 3. I've been there. I've seen it. It happens. I've been to different coaches' clinics, and when the depth chart comes out, the depth chart didn't come out in April. The depth chart did not come out in April. They've been working out since that time. They've been working out since February. They've been getting their reps in. The depth chart came out later, and that's when I guess the coaching staff made their decision who's 1 and who's 2. Because I know for a fact when Ty says we're outside and we're doing our thing, okay, I don't see, a depth chart at that time. That's all I'm saying. Because people don't understand, these kids don't just start throwing to each other in August, in June, in July. They do it way back before then. And then something clicked, I guess, that gave Zach the starting job. I don't know what it was. I wasn't there. I'm not a psychic. If I was, I want to know what the lottery is.
You're such a smart football guy. You're going to admit you're going to admit I'm right. You ready for this?
I'm going to admit you're right.
Yeah,
I don't
you
mind
really
that. I'm married. I'm used to being wrong, so I'm good.
And you know Judy, so how do you think I am? Okay,
Go ahead, buddy.
I'm gonna throw a name out.
Please.
Okay, I'm going to give you the second answer first. And Kentucky's not the only one that does it. Sometimes when the depth charts come out during the season and they print the sheets up and stuff like that, they don't change it and it's not accurate and it's BS. So, so put that in the back of your head. As a matter of fact, they shouldn't put out that stuff if it's not true during the season. Okay, and I don't care what school it is. Now I'm going to throw a couple names at you. DJ Miller, who, by the way, getting a lot of love and raves about being a freshman white, and I'm picking on him on purpose. Actually, he's the first freshman I saw on the list, but he was not taking the first snaps right away. I promise you. Okay.
No, he wasn't.
You're on my side now. So here's what happens.
No,
now, yeah, you are. Because let me tell you, when they first started taking snaps, Macklin was on the field, unless he was hurt. Okay. The guys who were here and had experience, they were taking snaps. Now, it could change if Miller is so good that he puts them on the bench. But whatever was the obvious number one at that point to the coaches and the players, you're right, the depth chart isn't finalized. But it's obvious that Macklin's going to be over Miller. It's obvious. He ain't throwing it to those. He's not. Miller is being tossed the ball initially from Cutler. And so I couldn't disagree with you more. Look, I know they've been throwing since you know what, and they throw. Some of these guys are throwing in February inside, and I get all that. I understand that. I've done this for years. But I can't believe I'm saying this to you. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're just wrong. It's not true. I've covered football for 1,000 years. Do you mean to tell me when Zach was taking the snaps, a freshman tackle was in at right tackle because they had an depth? No. No, I'm not done. When practice happens, not when these guys are throwing to each other. You're right. If you're throwing it, suppose Miller comes out and somebody else doesn't come out and they have a class and stuff, that's tossing the ball around. You're absolutely right. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about real freaking practice. Real practice. There's no way that Big Pete, you brought him in here and paid all this money. You're making me sweat. Hang on, you're pissing me off. I can't believe I used that word. You really got me fired up because you're wrong, and I love you, but you're wrong. You just know I'm sweating. I'm gonna have to change my shirt
Jimmy,
to go walk
down.
No, Jimmy, you be quiet too. Let me tell you something. There is no way Big Pete or Josh Braun wasn't out there with Zach starting it out. It'd be insulting. It'd be degrading. It'd be stupid. Stoops would never do that. Eric Walford was not doing it. So it's a presumptuous number one that everybody knows. Oh, my gosh. I'm going to have to next time you come on, I'm going to bring a towel to my desk. It's unbelievable. So, come on, man. You need to apologize to me. You were right about what you said when guys are tossing around in January. They're just, going in and out. You're absolutely right. That's not, I'm talking about practice. Practice when the coaches are there and it's real. You're wrong. Come on, admit I'm
Do what?
admit you're
Okay,
wrong.
I'll tell you what.
No,
I
no,
will admit,
no, I'm either right
whoa,
or
whoa,
no.
It's your show, so I respect it. But
No,
I'm
no,
like
I want you to
I'm
be
like
honest.
Sean Woods on
Wait a
this one.
second. Forget it's my show.
Hold
I want
on.
you to just give me an honest opinion.
I am. My honest opinion is it also makes a difference on what position it is, too. It makes a difference. There's a big difference in a quarterback because just like in every movie, the quarterback is it. Now, when you say about a quarterback, this quarterback, Zach, has a great history. He has history. So mentally, if you ask the average football person that doesn't know either one of them, and you give a history of a background, 7 years playing college ball, maturity, then you may give them a 51-49 edge and do say it's a battle. But in your mind, you may be thinking 51-49. All I know is, I say it again for the third time, we're in a great position at the University of Kentucky at the quarterback spot. We're in a fantastic position. And with that said is, everybody just has to buy in. Okay, and let me say this real quick. Coaching a middle school team that I coach, and that's our biggest thing is, we got people going against different position. People want to start here, but the quarterback position is the president of that company. And you got to make sure when you make a quarterback position, it's not the same thing as making a DB or receiver, tight end position, who's going to start. So mentally, just a lot of stuff goes in to who's the starting quarterback. Not just because they're throwing the ball, not just because of this. It doesn't work that way. And you look at, that's why Manning was on the bench at Texas. It wasn't because he wasn't good. It wasn't because he couldn't throw a rope. They had to make a business decision to keep that quarterback there and make Manning wait. And now Manning's got his opportunity.
But Manning knew he was waiting, and it wasn't a battle, and
but he was
everybody
happy
knew
to be waiting.
Wait, no, it doesn't have to be happy. I don't care about happy right now. I'm telling you, it wasn't a battle, and everybody in the state of Texas knew it wasn't a battle. Here's the thing. Until you deal with NIL money with your middle school kids, I don't want to hear the argument because it's not the same, because there's more money on the line. You're talking about basic football, and I respect you, and you're absolutely right.
Basic football
Okay, but guess what? Basic football has changed with money. A lot. Okay, Okay, I'm going to give you two names. Quisenberry, you're hearing great things about. Okay, Quisenberry and Miller, two freshmen who seems like might have beautiful futures for Kentucky.
Yes.
Okay, just give me a yes. Just give me a yes or no. And if you want to say no, I still love you, but you're wrong. Okay, you're wrong because Brandon Ramsey is already winning, and this is, of course, my fault. When they first started practicing, and Zach took the snaps with a 1, I'll bet you your mortgage and my mortgage. Don't take the bet that Miller and Quisenberry weren't on the field for that first snap.
No, they weren't.
Oh my gosh, you finally agreed with me because they're not part of the ones. And you know that. You're too smart. So therefore, you're in pain because I'll let you go 2 lines because you should have the last word because it's not fair. It's my show. No, it's fair because I respect you so much. So you're really agreeing with me. I hope you're not as stubborn with Terry. I really wish your wife is lovely. I hope you're not that stubborn. You've actually agreed with me. And you know I'm right.
I have nothing for that. Use my word.
You're afraid if you say you're right that no, I play it back in another show. Okay. I would.
Yes, I know you would.
Hey, God bless you.
Thank you.
You're the best. And you know what's really cool? Let me tell everybody, there are a lot of people who play for Kentucky I wouldn't try to do this with because I wouldn't. No, I'm being serious. Because I wouldn't want them to think that I'm painting them in the corner to rip the program, which I'm not. Words have meanings. Otherwise, why the hell do you say it? He said the word battle. It is a bogus battle. Will you agree with me? And you're right. They're in good. You see, you were really smart. You were right when you said, hey, Kentucky in the quarterback room, they're in really good shape. You were right. And if he has to start later on, you're right. You're right about all that. Just give me a yes or no, Mr. Cisco Bryant, father of Ty, former Studley player for Kentucky back in the 1950s before there were face masks. Just give me a yes or no. You agree with me that this is a bogus quarterback battle?
No comment. No comment. Because I think it's what it was. That's what it is. So
Yeah.
I guess, yes, I'm agreeing with you. Because what it was.
Okay. You're exhausting.
You, me.
I won't sweat this much on the exercise bike for a half hour today. God bless you. God bless you. You're the best.
Hey, I'm glad your eyes are better. I heard you say it yesterday when you saw Anthony White.
It's almost all the way back. There's just a little tiny thing. That's all that's left. And I find out Tuesday if I can someday fly when I need to fly versus having to drive places. So I'm hoping it's so small now that I'm hoping and praying it goes away this weekend. So I will take your thoughts and prayers. And by the way, really quick, I'm Brandon. I'm sorry I'm late, but you mind if I say this, what you said about Ty? That was personal. I guess you told Ty about my eye, and then Ty said to you, what did Ty say? I mean, this warmed my heart because I talked to Ty one, he was in the studio one time with you, and the kid's great. I mean, you have the world's greatest kid, but what did Ty say about me and it's not about me. This is more about Ty, the person, and how he is to people. What did Ty say about my eye that you should pass on?
Well, what he said when I said that, you remember Alec Cunning's got the eye, he said, I need his number. I need to give him a call and pray for him. Yeah. And that was his initiative of communicating because he met you and he put you in his prayers.
That's beautiful. And again, it's not about me. It's about how wonderful your son is. You and Terry did a great job. At this point, I'm so mad at you. I'm going to say Terry did a great job. I'm not mad at you at all.
Okay.
I can't be mad at you. You admitted I was right. Took a half hour. That might be the toughest half hour I've had doing this show.
Hey, I'm getting better.
No. Hey, say goodbye to Jimmy because I know you don't want to say goodbye to me.
All right. Well, I'll say goodbye to you all time. Go Niners, Jimmy. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Hey, love you, brother.
Love you. All right.
Jimmy, I'm not kidding. I'm sweating.
I could tell. And it is kind of funny in a way that at the very end, the root of your stance that you had, Cisco did agree. It was just you guys were just going back and forth about semantics and one word and this and that. But
I don't want to say this because he's not here. I think he agreed with me all the time. It just didn't want to agree with me.
But that thing about Ty with your eye, on a bigger scale, those are the things that NFL scouts, when they go into teams, they will talk to the cafeteria workers, the trainers, everyone else to see what's he like, the athletic trainers, what's he like on a day-to-day.
Yep.
Those are the things that make the good players into great players and can get drafted because of that. It's who you are off the field. They see what you are on the field, but talk to the trainers that are in the training room all the time that see you when you're not on the field behind closed doors. That's what goes a long way.
This is the world's greatest kid who happens to be a Studley football player.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, the kid's perfect. And as I mentioned last week, he did he was kind of like the host for a segment on BBN Tonight and interviewing fans and stuff like that. He's a natural on TV, which is what he wants to do. We are super late. Brandon, I apologize. He's listening and probably laughing at me, which I wouldn't blame him for. Blue Lotus Health, 859. Were you laughing at me during that, Jimmy?
A little bit. You started getting real worked up.
Yeah. I never thought I had to bring a towel doing my show. I think my blood pressure went up. What do you think?
Yeah. It's like Sean Woods was in here.
This is as bad as anything Sean Woods has ever done to me during the show. That's a good analogy. Blue Lotus Health, 859. I love you, Sean. 859-533-0914. 859-533-0914. Acupuncture, now also providing a licensed massage therapist. Acupuncture, Ramon has been a dear friend, and he's helped me tremendously, especially recently with my neck because of my problem sleeping because of my eye. Can't sleep on my back and I have to be elevated. It's awful, but I'm lucky and blessed. in spite of all that. And so my neck gets really messed up, and he puts a bunch of needles in, and it helps out tremendously. Terry's also helping me with my neck too, but the needles, whoo, it's off the charts. Thank you, Ramon. Appreciate you. Go check him out. You are worth spending the time and the money to help and improve your health. 859-533-0914 on For Sales Road, Blue Willows Health. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road. Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pump and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Milky Way, Snickers, or Twix share-size candy bars, 2 for $4, and combos 5-ounce bags, 2 for $5.
Clark's Pump and Shop, return, refresh, refuel.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ATM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties.
Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
W223CV Lexington. ESPN Sports Radio 1392.5. WLXG Lexington and LM Communications Broadcasting Station. The only no-filter sports show in Kentucky. It's the Alan Cutler Show with award-winning TV sportscaster Alan Cutler.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Honored and pleased. You look like you're in a dark cave. We're on YouTube now. How about a little light there, brother? Oh, now I see your beard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's still there.
Oh,
hey,
collared shirt. We don't really push it much. We got to work on my background, and I don't think this is going to be a big part of the show. Our online is growing like crazy. Our podcasts are growing like crazy. Ratings are going up. But the YouTube thing just started, and there's only a few people. Please subscribe if you're on. But this is a tiny, tiny, tiny part of what we do. You go to ESPN 1300. Is that what? Did I get it right? Jimmy, help me out here. I just froze. With which is it 1300 first? I should know this. I need to write it down. What's the YouTube page called?
Oh, ESPN Sports Radio 1300 AM.
Thank you, Jimmy. So please subscribe. Anyway, you look better now, people watching. I apologize, Brandon Ramsey, for being late. I don't know how much you were listening. Cisco and I have been friends for decades and decades. I covered him when he was at UK. I love the dude, but we were arguing. It took not quite a half hour for him to agree I was right.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I was sitting here listening to you guys go back and forth, and I was having as much fun as you guys were, I think. So
were you laughing at me?
Yeah, yes. And I was especially laughing when you said Brandon's probably laughing at me, and I was like, "Yep, he knows. Yep. He knows."
Seriously, and now exaggeration. I hope sweat a little bit more. I don't sweat much on the exercise bike, but I'm sweating now. Enough for the exercise bike.
There we go.
I'm going to have to bring a towel in here. Anyway, how are you, pal? Nice to see you. Before I forget, because Cisco got to me, God bless you, Cisco, give a plug for everything, and then we'll move on. Please, give
Absolutely.
a great plug.
Yep. Thanks, Alan. You can follow me on Twitter at BRamseyKSR. That's always the best place to stay up to date with everything that I'm doing. But all the written work goes on KentuckySportsRadio.com, and then some video stuff on the Kentucky Sports Radio YouTube page. Also have my own show on the Brandon Ramsey College Basketball Show YouTube page, which you can subscribe to as well. And again, all that gets promoted through my Twitter at BRamseyKSR.
You know, it's amazing. You couldn't have done this 20 years ago, and the way the world has changed in social media, you've been able to, like a lot of people, and it's a credit to you, build a business based on online. And 20 years ago, you couldn't do it. I don't know if you'd be selling insurance or this, that, or the other. It'd have to be something on the side. But
Right.
because of your talent and the fact you're aggressive and you push things out, because if you don't have the knowledge, it's nice, all these social media things, you wouldn't be able to do it. But because your knowledge, you're able to make a living doing it. And so you're kind of what I call part of a group of young, do you consider yourself a young entrepreneur?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'm only 33. I think that's young.
Oh, I'm trying to compliment you. I consider you a young entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I didn't think you were 33. You look younger. That makes me feel even older. Forget about that.
That's good for me, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's always good for you. Okay, so give me a little take with this recruiting period being over as to how you think Pope did.
I think that it was a very, very productive summer for UK in terms of recruiting in the class of 2026 and even beyond that. I think that they're certainly heavily involved with several of the best players in the country, including potentially being a current day leader with the best of the best in Tyron Stokes. Someone that you and I have talked about. I think the last time I was on, we went more in depth a little bit.
I know. Hang on. I'm
with
stopping
that, but
I'm stopping you, and then I want you to keep on. You think Kentucky is leading for Tyron Stokes?
I would say that, if the decision had to be made today, and this isn't, I don't think based on anything breaking or new, or certainly anything that I know that other people don't, but I think Kentucky is in a very, very good situation right now. And I think that, most people that I talk to or, listen to online, different things, I think it's fair to say that Kentucky is right up there, if not leading at the present day for Tyron Stokes. Yes.
Let me ask you one Tyron Stokes question, then please continue your rant, please. Different years, as you know much better than me, the talent is different. Some years is about the same. Some years it's much better. Some years it's much worse. When you look at this young man and his talent being number one, off the top of your head, not the last 50 years, that's not fair to you and silly, but take it for the last 5 or 6 years. If you want to go 10, that's fine. But give me a short sample as to how he rates, in your opinion, being the top player versus the other. Because one more, there have been years, and I bet you agree with me, that some kid that was number one in a particular class, and I'm not looking to rip anybody because there's nothing to rip, would have only been 5, 6, 7, or 8 in another year. But that doesn't mean he's not a hell of a player because he's number one. You know where I'm coming from. You're nodding, of course. Where does he rate as far as, is he a superstar talent? How good is he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, it's a great question because we're coming off of a couple years where the number one player was like big time special with Cooper Flagg and then AJ Dibansa. Those were kind of generational type of number one players, guys that are expected to come in and be All-American, game-changing type of players from day one in college basketball, very likely the number one pick in the NBA draft as well, once again with Dibansa in the next draft. So, you have two guys like that in back-to-back classes, and you're right, they're not all created equal. I think that if you look at the last 10 years, Tyron Stokes is probably middle of the pack in terms of number one players. Like if he would have been in the AJ Dibansa class this past season, he would have still been a top, certainly a top 5 prospect in that class easily, and that's with moving up a year even. So I think that he is a very, very good number one player. Is he is he on the level of Flagg and Dibansa? No, I would not put him there. But in terms of kind of your yearly number one player, yes, it's not like he's not deserving of being considered a number one prospect. He's a legitimate number one prospect in the class.
Okay. And either way, who knows about a couple of years from now, but he's a lotto pick waiting to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I saved this for you and didn't comment on it the other day. I think it's brilliant. I sometimes wonder, is Pope a better person or a better basketball coach? And the fact that I sometimes wonder, because I think he's an elite, even though he hasn't won a national championship or gone to the Final Four. That's just, everybody can disagree, and that's fine. When it came out that he's spending 30 minutes, and I'm sure sometimes it's 25, sometimes I bet it's 45 and 50 minutes, but he clocks out 30 minutes to talk to each kid each week. It's brilliant. And I bet he wants to hear the kids talk more than him. And this will help him coach the team so much more because of the trust and the bonding will get done. I don't know if other coaches do this. I think, Cal would bring guys in. I don't know about every week, but he brought guys in. I thought Cal was really good about it, by the way. So this is not like anti-Cal because he was here before. But I've never heard of a coach, you tell me, never heard of a coach who talked to kids 30 minutes each. And if you want to say, well, they're not 6-7 hours a week, that's coaching. That's coaching. That could be as valuable as a kid taking 100 free throws, for crying out loud, if you believe as much as I do in the mental part. I think it's brilliant. One, you talk to tons of coaches. Is anybody else doing it? And two, am I hyping it, or do you think it's as brilliant as I do?
It's funny. We had nearly this exact discussion on KS Board a couple of days ago, and somebody was asking me like, "Hey, like in the coaching world, is this normal?" And quite frankly, no, it's not normal. This is, I mean, like you said, I mean, every coach is around their guys a lot, and you spend time, you talk on the phone if you need to, you have meetings if you need to. But I think in terms of kind of truly scheduling out, half hour, whatever it may be, plus or minus 15 minutes with guys on a weekly basis, that's not common. That's true from Division I to Division III, and anywhere and everywhere in between. That's not something I think a lot of people are doing. But I do think it's excellent because, as you said, especially at the Division I level, where you have so much access to your players and you're around them so much, like you just come off this 8-week period where you get to spend time with them in the summer. Like there's just not honestly all that much time as a Division I athlete where you're not on campus around your coach. So I think that you can fall into this situation where you really only have that relationship with Mark Pope, the coach, and it can kind of maybe fog the lines a little bit of the mental health side of things and making sure that everybody feels loved and all that stuff that's becoming more and more important year after year. And I think we're kind of understanding the importance of that sort of thing. So I think that, yeah, taking 30 minutes to sit down and talk to a Tiga Owe, not about how to guard the ball screens or not about improving his shooting form, but maybe asking him what movies he went to this week, or asking him what him and his girlfriend were doing over the summer, different things like that. Having more personal interactions and kind of taking off the Coach Pope hat and just kind of being your friend, your mentor, whatever it may be. I think that's the importance of some of those meetings, because he gets to spend so much time being their basketball coach that I think making sure that they feel kind of some love beyond that is important. And I think that's something that, because he's so smart and so analytical and all these things, I think that he's proving to kind of be at the forefront of some of this stuff across major college basketball coaches, where he's really, I think, buying into the importance of kind of the mental side of the game. I think that he's going to be looked at, when we look back, 25 years from now, I have a feeling that Coach Pope's going to get some credit for kind of leading the charge in some of these realms.
I like the word credit. Can I give you another word?
Let's do it.
I really believe over the next 10 years, and it'll be sprinkled for a while. And let's say they win big next year, that sprinkle will happen much quicker because everybody, as you know, copies winners. But I think over the next 10 years, more and more coaches, and I think that the business was leading this direction anyway. It's not like he's changing the entire business, but I tell you what I think he is changing. I think more and more coaches are going to end up copying what Mark Pope is doing. 5 years from now, there'll be, I bet, a number of coaches in the summertime who bring kids in for 30 minutes a pop once a week, that kind of stuff. Because one, do you agree? And two, when you criticize a player, and he does it in a positive way, but kids know it's still criticizing. Come on, these players aren't stupid. They know it. They just appreciate how he does it. When they're accentuating the positive, knowing that there's something else that they need to do. These kids are smart. They're not stupid. I think there's going to be a lot of copying that goes on. And I think someday, somebody sitting on this radio station, hopefully I'm still around. I want to do this when I'm 80. You think I'm out of my mind?
No, I think you got it.
I mean, I'm certainly not, thank God, lacking energy or knowledge.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Somebody might disagree, and that's fine. And I'm perfect, but whatever. Anyway, I think we are watching the metamorphosis of a leader changing the sports, not in every way, let's not get silly, but in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and you said it the right way. I mean, coaching is absolutely a copycat business, and everybody steals from each other, whether it be set plays or defensive philosophy or substitution patterns or even bigger picture style of play, recruiting, all these different things. And I think that this is just sort of the next step of that, as you see people bringing in or even hiring like in-house psychologists or sports psychologists and stuff like that. And Coach Pope's certainly been at the forefront of that. And now these personal meetings with players, I about guarantee you when that kind of went out across the internet yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, I about guarantee there were 50 other Division I coaches that were texting their assistants being like, "Hey, should we be doing this? Like, how often do you guys talk to the, like, I guarantee you there were group texts among coaches all over the country from all different levels being like, hey, you know what? That seems like a pretty good idea. We need to start doing this."
I'm glad you said that, because that's what I was thinking. You talk to tons more coaches than I do. By the way, how much better of a coach would you be now that you're doing this business? Partly because you're 33, and I'm not trying to be funny about the age, but the fact that you have probably learned tons just with knowledge and experience and being a little older from talking to all these coaches. And I think I know you a little bit now, and that you're kind of a sponge to pick up knowledge, which I respect. How much better of a coach would you be now that you've done this business?
I would be significantly better, and sometimes I almost like feel bad for the level of coach that I probably was 6 or 7 years ago, because and I'm not doing it now, but I do feel like I'd be so much better at it. I just think over the years you obviously gain more confidence in your voice and all that kind of stuff, and I think I'd be better in practice now. I think I'm smarter in a lot of ways with basketball stuff now than I was then, because you just like you said, you continue to absorb more information. You're in constant contact with more and more coaches. You're learning from more and more people, and yeah, I think that I absolutely, I guess I was last a coach 6 years ago, and yes, even without coaching in the last 6 years, I think I'm better at it today than I was then.
And if you're still coaching, you would have been better anyway, just from experience and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
But you have an encyclopedia's worth of knowledge from talking to all the coaches that you do. Just you've become kind of an old soul in a little bit of a way.
Yeah, I would say so, and yeah, absolutely on the the recruiting trail and some of the other things that I discuss with coaches, even inside the film room and different things. That stuff is extremely valuable just for my own personal growth, and then also, and like you said, I mean, I'm a hoops junkie, so to speak. So yeah, you're always watching film and picking up different things, and I thought the other quote from Coach Pope that was interesting from that coaches clinic that he did was him talking about how much he gets from social media. He mentioned something about so many set plays that he gets or comes up with are stolen from somebody's Twitter account, and I thought in 2025 that is super common, where coaches are following all this kind of stuff and constantly scouring Twitter, and like it doesn't matter if it's tweeted from you or me or from another coach or just a random anonymous account. Like if there's some film attached to it, they'll sit there and watch and be like, hey man, like that was a really good out of bounds play, and I'm going to add that or bookmark it or whatever. So I think that not only am I doing that, but I think that coaches at the highest levels are doing that too, and kind of always scouring every possible outlet to continue bettering themselves.
Dumb question out of nowhere. Do you have, fear is not the right word, this is basketball, but is there a fear that there's going to be a bubble on what kids can make playing basketball? And as part of that, there will be some schools, and I have believed the second part a lot, there'll be some schools that have been traditionally very successful that are going to fall by the wayside because they don't have any money. And you could kind of feel some of them now, but you really won't be able to tell until there's a year or two of them losing money. And there'll be some schools who are going to fall quickly because the rosters change so fast. Therefore, if you can't rebuild because you don't have the dough, all of a sudden, I'm not saying you were going to the Final Four, but let's say you were an NCAA team, very often that all of a sudden you're going to lose more games than you win. Do you see some of that happening? Because with money, there's always some cause and effects and side effects, and I don't know if we ever talk about that.
I think it's almost inevitable. Like it almost has to happen because of the way that this, when a handful of years ago when we made this move to kind of open up the Pandora's box of NIL and players getting paid and all that. And I think for the most part, people were interested in making sure that players had a way to make some money. And then unfortunately, I think it pretty quickly kind of got away from us, and it kind of became something that I don't think anybody intended it for to look like when we all laid this out in the beginning. It was, I always kind of understood it of like, hey, you can go, sign some autographs at the local sports bar. You can, do a commercial for your local car dealership, or you can hop on the radio and sell some t-shirts or whatever it may be. And then it kind of pretty quickly became this pay for play at the millions of dollars and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I have a feeling that whether it's 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be, there's going to be some places that start to kind of look inwards and be like, well, gosh, we've been at this for 8, 10, 12 years now. We're not seeing any return on this. So, like, sorry, there's not going to be any of this money now, whether that be, institutionally, or whether that be from the collectives, or whether that be from private businesses that are no longer going to be handing out some of this money. I think it's almost inevitable that obviously for some programs and some companies and some individuals, it's going to continue working and they're going to want to continue to shell over the money. But then kind of on a larger scale, there's going to be a lot of schools that are like, hey, we've been doing this for a while and it ain't working. So why am I going to continue funding all of these dollars when we're not seeing the results we want on the field or the court or whatever it may be? So I completely agree that at some point, it seems like we're going to have a kind of a blow up, so to speak, of like something has to give here.
In the stock market, they call it a bubble. And the third part, the last thing you said, I couldn't agree with you more. That I think, and I don't blame anybody. First of all, you don't have to give. And if you give, God bless you, more power too. Everybody should do what they want. But there'll be some, it's not just because you're a millionaire. I think there was somebody who'd thrown in $20 might feel the same way. I think there'll be some people who donate lots of money and they want the joy. And I don't care if it's a stock market or with a basketball team or a football team or a volleyball team, whatever, they want return on their investment. And I think it's going to be difficult for some schools and some particular programs, and I'm not predicting anything or list, but I just know it's going to happen, that you've given X and all of a sudden the team stinks, or maybe it's just not as good as you anticipated, and they're going to come back to you, hey, remember last year you gave us $500,000? Can you pony up and give us another $500,000? Well, things are tight and da-da-da-da-da, and they might not say, you know what did I get for my $500,000? I want the joy of sitting in the third row in a championship, and you just didn't deliver. This is how this has become total pro sports. I think it's total pro sports. I don't think it wasn't amateur to begin with 5 years ago, but it's total pro sports now. And I can see a bubble that way too from that last point you're saying. And who's going to be able to judge that? Because not all these people are going to come forward, very few will, but I think that's going to be one of the big things about all of a sudden, I gave $500,000 next year, and then after 5 phone calls, all right, I'll give you $100,000. You see that?
Absolutely. And I think kind of the other side of that too is, and I think, again, we're probably getting to the year where this might start happening more and more. Even the most wealthy donors, like a lot of times it's not new money that they're donating. So now when it became this collective idea, you're donating to basketball to get players, like they were always donating $5 million to, Kentucky, but it used to go to the agriculture program and athletics in general, and then some scholarship fund. They probably didn't all of a sudden then start donating $1 million on top of that to get Tyron Stokes to come. So now I think at some point, like, maybe everybody was kind of getting along, but now 5, 6 years down the road, when the agriculture program or whatever hasn't gotten their money, they're going to start asking for it too. And I think that there's going to be some fights coming up with athletics and universities kind of butting heads where, like, hey, we used to be seeing some of this money on a university scale, and now everybody's only donating to athletics. Like, we need some of that money back. And I think that's another way where you're going to have probably some infighting where everybody's kind of getting along here in those first few years of it and seeing how it plays out. And then again, once things aren't working, then those schools are going to want like some of those academic money donations back that they were always getting before. And now I think a lot of the money has kind of been funneled in a new way.
I think that was true for Kentucky. I think, they were getting donations to the programs, and I think there was some, I don't mind saying selfish, because sometimes that's what you do, and it might not be a bad thing, but they weren't for players really getting that much, because if those donors now start donating to the players and they won't donate to the program. And I think it's something that Kentucky battled. I know they did. And they're not the only ones. And because how many ways do you stretch a dollar? It's not like Kentucky's got 1 million people who can give a lot of money.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's a issue. I think that a lot of the schools probably, you know, maybe outside of the top 10 to 20 programs in any given sport. Like, I think it's going to be, you know, something that a lot of people are probably going to be facing here sooner rather than later. And you know, probably by the end of the decade, I think you're probably going to see something kind of come to a head.
So as a Reds fan, you happy now or you think you're getting teased?
Gosh, well, I mean, it's hard to not feel like you're getting teased just because that's the way that it's been for a while now. But But I do think, like, you know, especially now that we've seen these guys for a couple of weeks, like, the team got better at the trade deadline. They did. Like, so some of these guys that they got, you know, Hayes, Anajar, you know, these guys are helping, and they're helping in a real way. So I do think that, and you were able to increase the pitching depth just a little bit, and hopefully now with Hunter Green being healthy, that obviously, you know, shifts some things down the rotation and down the bullpen as well. So I feel better right now than I did probably a month ago. But you know, they're still not in the playoffs, and until they kind of truly make that next step, I'm not probably gonna feel too good about it. But I do think they got better, and at least they're playing fun, meaningful baseball in late August. I'm not gonna take that for granted.
If the bullpen in the last week was as good as the starting pitching, they'd be ahead of the Mets right now. The starting pitching has been really good as of late, really good. Let me throw an analogy your way. I like David Bell. Wasn't happy that they fired him. If you would have told me that they were going to get Tito, I would say, I'm sorry. You gave him a contract extension, fire him. He's getting millions and millions, which is so un-Reds-like. Not to manage. I don't think they quit on Bell. Hal McCoy told me that a lot of Reds didn't like him. And by the way, a lot of Yankees didn't like Billy Martin, but they played for him because a lot of it was fear and a lot of it being in New York. You don't want to get booed and the media killing you, stuff like that. So it's not all about liking. But I do honestly believe this. There is something about Tito where he is instilled in them. I call it kind of Tito magic. He's got that it factor that when they're down, and they've blown some games pretty bad, but you know, recently they just, after blowing some games, they won a couple games where they blew the lead, and they've won a bunch of games where they've come back, and they're still not winning more one-run games than they're losing. They're closer, and they need to get over that. But I think he has brought to that clubhouse, and a lot of it has to do with the players that have been brought in. And so you're convincing people who have the right attitude anyway. We're playing. It's you know that we're playing for 27 outs, and until this 20, it just keep grinding. It might not look pretty, but let's just keep on doing it. It's an obvious thing, but I actually think they're doing it, and I didn't see that in this team for years and years and years and years. And to me, that's a Tito factor. You agree?
Absolutely, and I think, you know, no matter how good a manager David Bell might have been or anybody else, like, they're absolutely, even for professional athletes, maybe even especially for professional athletes, there's something to be said for a guy that can show you his World Series rings and say, like, hey, maybe you should listen to me every once in a while. I know what I'm talking about. And I think that's probably a big part of that Tito factor that you're talking about, is like, these guys probably all look at each other and you'd be like, you know what, this guy, I think he kind of knows what he's talking about. He's won at the highest levels. He's coached for a long time. Some really good teams, had a ton of success. I'm gonna take some heat on what this guy has to say. Not that they're completely blowing off other managers, but I do think it probably just sticks with you a little bit more when he can, like I said, go point to his World Series rings.
This might get me nothing, but is there anything else in the world of basketball that you're passionate about, or anything in sports that we didn't talk about?
Not really. I mean, we got college football around the corner, so that's exciting. Looking forward to getting down to Lexington for some football games, and obviously the basketball team. I think they're all pretty much moving back in this week and weekend as well, so they're going to be back together. So we're kind of getting into full swing of the academic year, which means sports are right around the corner.
Look, I got to you late, kept you too long. Please give yourself a second great plug for yourself, and always bless you, brother. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely, yeah. Anytime, Alan. You know, always enjoy doing the show. But you can follow me on Twitter at BRamseyKSR. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Brandon Ramsey College Basketball Show. Also subscribe to the Kentucky Sports Radio YouTube channel and find all my written work there on KentuckySportsRadio.com. And again, that's all on Twitter at BRamseyKSR.
So did you fail today, Brandon? Because Cisco made me sweat and you didn't make me sweat.
Gosh, maybe it cooled down over there. I don't know, but Those were very tough shoes to follow. You guys were getting into it. That was good.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm glad you didn't make me sweat. Let's put
Right.
it that way. Hey, man, appreciate you tremendously. Everybody should check him out. The dude knows his stuff. He's really, really good. Thank you, pal.
Yep. Thanks, Alan. Have
a
one.
good day. Brandon Ramsey.
You too.
Jimmy, I'm lucky. I don't think my heart could have taken it. Somebody put on Twitter, I should have let Cisco talk more. And that was when I was ranting a lot. And I gave him a love sign back. He was right. There was a point because I was passionate. I talked a little bit too much. Not the first time I've done it. Not the last time I've done it. But I did shut up and let Cisco finish his argument, didn't I?
Yeah. He ended up getting his points in.
Oh, yeah. And I purposely, I could have stapled my mouth shut just to. But the reason why I talked so much, because I knew he was agreeing with me but couldn't agree with me. You understand that because you're smiling, even though you love Cisco more than you love me, and I don't blame you.
It was almost like you guys were having conversations together, but about different things. But you wanted him to agree with you, but he was just making a separate point, and not instead of agreeing with you.
He was evading the issue.
Well, but he was also bringing up a valid point.
Absolutely.
Like,
No. He was bringing a valid point, but he was ducking the issue.
Well, and you just wanted one thing. Is for him to say he agrees.
No.
If he does agree.
If I only want him to, what I wanted was, because he was agreeing with me, he wouldn't admit it. I don't want anybody to say they agree with me if they don't agree with me. That's dumb radio, and I will never do that. I think he just couldn't admit it. That's all. Cisco, if you're still listening, I love you. You know that. Hey, I tell you, this can help you. www.naturalhealingandpainrelief.com. That's my friend Terry Page. She worked me over pretty good, and I got to tell you, with a problem I've had with my feet, I've said this more than once, Jimmy. I'm telling you, when I left, and even before I left, the blood circulating all over as she opened up, literally spots to kind of heal myself. It was off the charts. She has been wonderful with stuff like fascia, tight muscles, all kinds of things like that. She's powerful. And Terry's big, beautiful deal. Text her. First part of the week in Butler, Kentucky. Last part of the week in Lexington, Kentucky. Text her to get an appointment. And if you go to her website, you can have a free consultation and you can talk to her about what she can do to help you out. Book an appointment now. Get $5 off. Schedule your next appointment before you leave and get $10 off for the next 2 appointments in succession. Offer ends April 29th. She's special. She's been great for me. Appreciate her tremendously. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313. Hi, this is Alan Cutler. The Quantrell Auto Group has a great deal for this month. Subaru. The Outback is special, so check this out. 0%. That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, 1.9%. What a deal. 0% interest for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quantrell family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties.
Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road. Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pump and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Jolly Rancher or Twizzler peg bags, 2 for $5, and Jacqueline's 2-ounce steak strip or extra large beef and cheese, 2 for $6.
Clark's Pump and Shop, return, refresh, refuel.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, He hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
So they go 5 wide. Flag is down on the second play of the game. On the move, he throws. This is Olszewski. Gunnar Olszewski inside the 30. Olszewski will take the ball to the 10. 3rd and 6. Clean pocket, fires, caught, touchdown, just like that. Cleveland, he's going to go deep for Hyatt, and this time he catches it. Touchdown.
From the Giants game last night, while we were playing that, Jackson Dart has looked spectacular in preseason. He's not going to be the starter. They're going Russell Wilson. I get that. And I love him as a future quarterback. And I'm a little biased because I'm a Giants fan as a child growing up. But here's the thing he did last night that just shocked me. He ran the ball. Okay. And then he took a ridiculous hit instead of sliding. And I'm thinking, you played in the SEC. You're trying to impress the coaches. He's a guy I like a lot. It was incredibly stupid. And he was kind of like out of it after that. Why would you take a hit during the regular season if he plays? And why would you do that? It's like, everything he learned at Ole Miss, you forget when you get to the next level. It bothered me a lot. And I felt bad for him. There was a shot of him, Jimmy, and if you saw on the bench for a while, it looked like he was dazed. His head hit the ground and stuff like that. And you're saying he's a rookie. I'm going, well, no. To me, it's the same thing as a guy who's a rookie in the NFL. And the announcers used to make a big deal of it, and they would say, oh, he's just a rookie. A guy fielding a punt in his first year, and he calls for a fair catch at the 5-yard line. And I remember, especially when I was in Cincinnati doing 700 WLW, it just happened a bunch of times that year in football, and I would just go crazy. Because don't tell me he's a rookie. He's probably been catching punts since like he was 9th grade. He knows what he's supposed to do. He just lost his cool. It's not a dumb rookie mistake. It's just a dumb mistake because you know better. And what Dart did last night, I mean, I don't care if you're in a rookie in your 10th year. You don't call for a fair catch at the 5-yard line. I mean, come on, everybody knows that. And so if you've played football for all those years, you should have the muscle memory to do it. Well, what Dart did was the same thing. Now, the reason why I'm saying that, because I said the other day that, Ole Miss has nobody in game 2 that would be as good as Dart. And I believe that. But here's what I don't know. If Ole Miss might not have a special quarterback by the end of the year. And that's one of the reasons I'm really glad Kentucky's playing Ole Miss in the second game. Jimmy, he's not a household name. The kid's name is Austin Simmons. And he did something which I thought was interesting because you don't see enough of, and I applaud him. He waited 2 years for his time, and he knew he wasn't going to beat out Dart. Okay? That was obvious, yet he stayed around. And I don't know if the comparisons are fair, but he's being called like Tua because he's a lefty. Okay. But here's the thing. I've read a bunch of articles on him now. Whew. Jimmy, this kid is cocky, and I'm not ripping him for that. He is cocky. He is confident from the tape I've looked at, and I kept on looking at more and more what I could find. I probably could have found more, but I found enough. He's 6'4", about 215, and man, oh man, he's already graduated Ole Miss. He's a smart kid, and he believes he's built for the moment. It wouldn't surprise me that he ends up leading Ole Miss to something special by the end of the year. Will that happen in game 2? I don't know. But I can tell you, because I think it's possible, it's not a stretch that Kentucky could win their first 2 games. And if they do, that changes a lot of things. There's no doubt about it. But the other point about this is, and Jimmy, I've been screwing about this, and you know this. Look, when Josh Allen showed up, as I love to say, he told me he wasn't even 190 pounds, and he stuck his fanny on the defensive line when he shouldn't have been, but they didn't have anybody. You had no idea he's going to be a future NFL Hall of Famer if he stays healthy for another 4 or 5 years. Nobody knew that. You didn't know that Max Harrison 3 years ago would be your first-round draft choice? I didn't know. Nobody knew. My point is this. There are some kids at Kentucky. I don't know who they are. I'm not saying anybody's going to be like Josh Allen or Max Harrison. I am suggesting, and I believe there'll be, I hope and anticipate, a number of guys who really haven't played that much or played maybe some last year who will blossom with another year. And that's why they could be good. And that's the thing. You don't know. And sometimes coaches don't know. I don't think when they recruited Max Harrison that they saw him being a first rounder. I can't imagine my wildest dreams they thought Josh Allen would be a picked as high as he was and all pro so many years. And if he is a future Hall of Famer, if he plays enough, if he's done after this year, he probably won't have enough sacks. It's terrible, but I don't necessarily like it, but that's the way it is. Point being is this. Austin Simmons is a kid that I would put on the list as potentially being a very special player. I'm just glad Kentucky's playing him in game number 2 for Kentucky's sake. They play him in game number 10, might be a different story. And so part of these predictions that happen, I think at times the experts have no idea. That's why I'm saying I'm not going to predict how many games they're going to win because I have no clue. They could win 4, they could win 3, they could win 7. 8 would shock me. Gee, wouldn't it be nice to be 8? And wouldn't it nice to be that I didn't know? And you didn't know. So all I'm trying to say about this football team, just be open-minded. Just be open-minded. I think that's an important part of doing this is being open-minded and see. That's all. See what they'll do. Appreciate everybody tremendously. The podcast will be up in just a couple of moments. Jimmy will put it up. Coming up on Monday, Kenny Rice will be joining us. Kenny hasn't been around for quite a long time, and we've talked about it. And I got a lot of personal messages about Rags, and people just such kind words about his dad who passed away, who really got to know him through this show. And Judy and I love Rags, and Kenny's feeling up to doing the show and moving on, and his opinions are always welcome. He's become a dear, dear friend. Think nothing but the best. The debate with Cisco, I can tell you one thing that I do not do, have never done, I will not do. I got loud, and I got loud because it was real. I will not and can't stand somebody. I don't care if he's making $100 million. I wouldn't be talking about somebody on ESPN, would I? Who yells for the sake of yelling. Can't stand it. It's one of my pet peeves. So I got into it with Cisco, and I was passionate. He's passionate. Cisco, I love, and he finally agreed with me. And Brandon Ramsey is always really, really good. Jimmy, I appreciate you more than you have any idea. Tell the boss you deserve a raise. I'm sure coming from me, it'll mean a lot, right?
Yeah, I'll let him know. I'll send it up the ladder.
What is that reeking with sarcasm? Thanks for everybody helping on the show. Appreciate it tremendously. Have yourself a lucky and blessed weekend. I'll be back at Monday. Brad Taylor coming up next. He's got a tough assignment. Is he still in Vegas?
Yes, he is. Tough life.
Tough life. You know, he's never offered to take us to Vegas to do the show, has he?
No. Maybe next year.
I doubt it. I don't blame him either. Have a great weekend. Matthew and Jimmy, Monday at 10. I'll be back at noon. Brad Taylor will be back at 2 o'clock on Monday. And also,